So let's get started. The idea is like it's 2 minutes. So we have up first to give you an example of what it is. We have Sunny and Chris. Basically, they have 2 minutes to go back and forth on a topic. And one takes the side of the affirmative and one takes the side of a negative. And then we'll ask the audience which you agree with. Who won the debate? Okay?
So the first question is?
So the first question is, will the Cosmos Hub's proof-of-stake consensus be decentralized enough? You should explain what side you're taking.
Yes, so to clarify, Sunny and I are representing different sides of this debate to give you some perspective on what we think are the best arguments. They may not necessarily be on personal opinions or the opinions of the company. Cosmos Hub proof-of-stake consensus is the first BFT proof-of-stake consensus that is ever launched into the wild. It is necessarily experimental. But when constructing that consensus and that state machine algorithm to allocate stake between validators and delegators, we have put in many ways for the system to adapt to an unpredictable external world. All we can do is write an internal system. We can write in logic and code to govern how validators vote, to govern who gets what kind of voting power, to govern who can delegate, and to govern when they can change their delegation. But we can write that logic in a way that permits a lot of flexibility on the people who actually hold the stake. The stakeholders of the system can act in its best interests, understanding the world outside in a way that we can never predict when designing it. So that's why we've built in a lot of different controls, a lot of levers that stakeholders can tweak to adjust the parameters of the system according to what they see happening. They can redelegate to different validators. They can, validators who equivocate will be slashed. Possible faults that put the protocol at risk will be punished. Delegators can see this, it's transparent. We've allowed for a high amount of liquidity of stake within the system. So you can instantly redelegate your stake to another validator if you decide the validator you delegated to isn't doing a good job or is likely to put the system at risk. The system can react very quickly, and everyone using the system can pay attention and ensure that this happens. Furthermore, we've built in a governance mechanism because we anticipate that no matter what kind of flexibility we built into the initial protocol, it would still need to change. That governance system will enable people who hold stake, people who have the best, the future value of the Cosmos Hub as their objective function, will allow those people to decide what ought to be done, and will allow those people to change the rules and change the incentives to facilitate the decentralized network topology that will be necessary to make the Cosmos Hub a useful system.
So why would I'm just going to go into the back and forth because, why would governance, right now in the system, it's the coin holder based governance, and it's like, if the largest coin holders are the ones who are benefiting from centralization, I don't see why that would help them, why they would want to increase the decentralization of the system when they profit from it directly. Why does not use mic?
Perhaps some people will have short-term interests, but many delegators and validators will necessarily have stake locked up. They can't simply outshort their positions and vote against the best interests of the Cosmos Hub. Moreover, there's always the threat of a fork. If I submit a proposal to, maybe privilege my interests of a validator over the best long-term interests of the network, someone else can set up a credible threat to split the network, and that will force my proposal to fail.
Okay, question, how decentralized do you think it has to be? How much is enough? The current distribution of stake and of voting power of validators, is that fine?
It's hard to tell. The current Gini coefficient of Cosmos voting power is about 0.79, which is already
what is
less.
The Gini coefficient of the Bitcoin mining pools?
Bitcoin mining pools are about half, but the Ethereum mining pools are 0.85. So the Cosmos Hub is already more decentralized than Ethereum mining.
The Bitcoin mining pool is a way bigger industry than Ethereum mining, and that's why they use it, partially because they use ASICs, not
Bitcoin mining pools have had years to become decentralized.
Yeah.
Millions and millions of people have tried their hand at Bitcoin.
Okay, but that's because
1,000 people hold atoms, but once we open transfers, they will
Proof of work allows
decentralize.
new people to enter the system. Proof of stake is inherently a state-dependent, a path-dependent system. Any future state will have to have been gotten through the initial distribution. What evidence do you have that the current atom holders the large whales are actually going to exit their positions and like help decentralize the network. The problem right now isn't like, we can't solve it with tiny little things like, making it easier for redelegation or whatnot. Because currently the largest atom holders, like, Polychain, Nokia, etc., most of their stake is from self-bonds. These large atom holders that together through their self-bonds already make up 33% of tax.
It's silly to draw conclusions from what the stake distribution has done in a week. When transfers are disabled and you have to burn 9 atoms just to sell
Nokia,
one.
are you going to sell any of your atoms as soon as transfers are enabled?
No.
Okay.
Nokia is an exceptional
They're the
case.
second largest atom holder.
Did you see?
Polychain?
Nokia sends pictures every morning on Twitter with eggs baked in the shape of atoms. That devotion is admirable, but it's not necessarily representative of the rational interests of all the stakeholders.
Okay, you think Polychain is going to sell?
Absolutely.
Okay,
No.
let's see.
He's
Want
scripting
red?
on himself.
What?
He's scripting.
Who?
And even if they don't, this is why we've built other controls in the system. This is why the community fund receives 2% of inflation and fees and can be directed by
How does that
validators.
help?
Because the stakeholders of the network, who are not just the validators, the delegators who
Right.
want Cosmos to be valuable in the long term,
Right.
can elect to make it easier for new people to join. It's true that if a cartel of large stakers emerges and they simply maintain control of the network,
Right.
it won't be decentralized enough. But that won't happen, because if someone sees that, they will redelegate, they will threaten to fork, they will force the stake distribution to act in the long-term national interest.
So I guess essentially my point is we should be focusing less on like forcing decentralization and more on learning how to I think the universe has power laws that we're never going to be able to fight. Instead, we should be learning on how to focusing on how to make systems that are secure in the face of centralization. If you have a cartel of 3 validators, how do we make it so they should distrust each other and make it so it's hard for them to cartelize? How do we make it so it's extremely unprofitable for even a large whale to create a single validator with as much stake as possible? So I think we got to focus in the mindset of we accept centralization is the reality of the world, and instead we have to learn how to put checks and balances in the system rather than trying to force the decentralization of the state distribution.
You give up too early. Power laws are not a fundamental property of physics. Last I checked, they're not part of the standard model, they're part of quantum field theory. They're a contingent fact about how the universe of, say, validators has been organized in many blockchains so far. But that doesn't mean
It's not a fundamental thing of physics, it's a fundamental thing of economics, right?
But we have so much more design space. It's true that proof of work has tended to be more decentralized maybe than a database. Your arguments would apply equally to writing everything in SQL instead.
What fundamentally is a proof of stake blockchain giving us different than we've had democracy for hundreds of years, we've had digital databases for hundreds of years. Why, if anything, we see the world distribution of capital in the non-crypto world centralizing? Why do you think how do you think suddenly putting things on a blockchain is suddenly making it any better?
Because the human institutions are fundamentally limited in the complexity and the accuracy of the incentive systems they can implement relative to code. Because humans have transaction costs, because
code.
humans are corrupt.
What do you mean? We have code in the real world. You don't need a blockchain to run code.
Okay,
No.
time's up.
No, I said we had democracy for hundreds of years.
Okay.
And it's one of-
Database.
I thought you said that.
No, you said databases.
Oh, sorry. I meant
I was
Most of the game could be you can fabricate a little bit, but
I meant we have had democracy for hundreds of years, and that has not solved capital distribution.
okay, so if based on that, would you take Chris's side or Sunny? Who would take Chris's side?
Come on.
Come on. You should not.
Who else is this?
Who would take Sunny's side? Okay. We don't have to keep going if we want to do the champagne and cake, but if we want to keep going, we can.